What if the greatest threat to modern love is not cheating or heartbreak or even lust? What if the real danger is that love has been redesigned? Not by poets, not by prophets, not by families, not by elders, churches, mosques, or any religious communities at all, but by algorithms. A generation now searches for love the same way it searches for food, for clothes, for entertainment, and for cheap flights. The methodology, scroll, compare, swipe, discard, repeats the process over again. And somewhere in that endless marketplace of faces, the human soul becomes quietly reduced into a commodified profile. So the question is not simply are dating apps good or bad? A more deeper and concerning relevant question to ask is what kind of human beings do dating apps end up training persons to become? Because maybe dating apps did not destroy modern love by making people immoral. Maybe they destroyed it by making people replaceable. It is absolutely more preferable to have a world without dating apps because dating apps have not merely provided a new method of meeting people, they have altered the moral grammar of desire. They have transformed courtship from a relationship encounter into a marketplace of profiles, attention, and comparison and disposability. Using Marshall McLuhan's media theory, the strongest argument is not simply that bad people misuse dating apps. Of course they do, but that's too easy to engage. The deeper argument is that the medium itself reshapes love. McLuhan's central claim is that the message of a medium is the change of scale, pace, and pattern it introduces into human affairs, and that the content of a medium often blinds people to the medium's deeper effect. So before blaming people for falling at love, perhaps the more urgent question is this: what kind of love can survive inside a system built on endless options? Dating apps did not invent lust, deception, loneliness, or vanity or betrayal. Scripture and philosophy knew this long before smartphones even were invented. The human heart was complicated long before the algorithm arrived. But dating apps have accelerated these older ones, packaged them, and made them ordinary. The biblical book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verses 14, there's the insistence that marriage should be honored and that the bed be kept undefiled. Proverbs chapter 18, verses 22 frames the finding of a wife as the discovery of a good thing and a sign of a divine favor. It did not stop there because Ecclesiastes chapter 4 teaches that human companionship is not a luxury but a structure of survival. Two are better than one because one can lift the other when the other one fails. Suratul al-Isra 1732 does not only prohibit zina, it warns against even approaching the pathways that leads to zina itself. So you see there are a plethora of scriptural text which speaks to this issue way before algorithm arrived. Taken together, these texts do not treat love as casual appetite. They treat intimacy as covenant, as moral discipline, as companionship and sacred responsibility. And that is exactly where dating apps becomes dangerous because they do not begin with covenant. They simply begin with display. What do you like? What do you dislike? They begin with the superficial, the unreal things, which doesn't give you true insights into the humanity and persons of the profile you're coming in contact with. Dating apps reverse the sacred logic of love. They begin not with patience, but with immediacy, instant gratification, not with community discernment, but with private consumption, not with slow discovery of character, but with the instant judgment of appearance. The face becomes a thumbnail, the person becomes a profile. The search for companion becomes simply a scroll and sitting behind the keyboard of a device and talking. And once love becomes scroll, the soul becomes something to be skipped. Under McLuhan's lens, this matters because media are not neutral containers. A dating app is not simply where people meet, it is a technological environment that changes the scale, the pace, and pattern of romantic interactions. McLuhan argues that the content of a medium often distracts us from the medium's actual power, the power to reconstruct and restructure human association itself. In other words, the problem is not just what people do on dating apps, the problem is what dating apps do to people. To this point, a major concern is not simply that people use dating apps to pursue casual intercourse. The problem is that the app trains imagination to approach human beings as options. It produces a habit of endless comparison. Even when someone finds a decent person, the design whispers, there may be someone better one swipe away. Subscribe to see who likes you. And there are 5 to 10 people that have liked you in the last 10 minutes. That whisper is not harmless. It is the theology of the marketplace speaking into the temple of the heart. Your body is the temple of God. Your body is the medium, and like McLuhan says, the medium is the message. And if dating app is quickly replacing you, and replacing what your bodies can do, then what the dating app is doing should immediately be questioned before it causes harm. This is where Ecclesiastes chapter 4 becomes a judgment against the app shaped imagination. The biblical ideal of companionship is not endless availability, it is reliable presence. Two are better than one because love is not built on infinite choices, but on mutual burden bearing activity. The tragedy of dating app is that they give people more access while making commitment feel more difficult. They multiply introductions while weakening attention. They promise connection while producing emotional exhaustion. And that is the paradox. Never have people had so many options, yet so many still feel unseen, unheard, and less understood. Philosophically, dating apps intensifies what Martin Buber would call the movement from I thou to I it. The beloved is no longer first encountered as a mystery, a moral subject or a soul before God, but as an object of preference. Plato would warn that desire detached from truth becomes appetite without assent. Aristotle would ask whether the system forms virtue or vice. If love requires patience, courage, and temperance, honesty, fidelity, and practical wisdom, then the dating app environment is morally suspicious because it rewards speed, gratification, appearance, novelty, and performative self branding. And that is if we set aside platform capitalism, where algorithms favor subscribing members and suggest them to more appealing audience than others. A system that rewards self advertisement cannot easily produce self giving love. Using McLuhan's laws of media, dating apps can be read through four questions. 1. What do they enhance? 2. What do they make obsolete? 3. What do they retrieve? And 4. What do they reverse into when pushed too far? McLuhan's theory explained that every technology extends or amplifies some human faculty, while also numbing or diminishing another. Pushed to its limit, a medium reverses into its opposite, and every medium retrieves something older in a new form. Dating apps enhance access, they enhance speed, they enhance visibility, they enhance sexual opportunities and social reach. They make obsolete slower courtship, embodied community accountability, family and friendship mediation, and the patience of discovering character over time. They retrieve the marketplace, they arrange display, the public audition, even the ancient marriage marketplace, but now privatized, digitized, and algorithmized. And finally, they reverse into loneliness at the very tail of it. That is the most damning indictment. A technology promising connection produces fatigue, mental fatigue, mistrust, disposability, and despair. Dating apps promise more love by increasing access, but love is not simply a function of access. A person can have thousands of options and still lack one faithful companion. A culture can be sexually connected and spiritually abundant. A generation can be constantly messaging and still deeply unseen. So the proposition here is to argue that a world without dating apps would not be a perfect world, but it will be a healthier and absolutely moral environment for love because it'll slow desire down, return courtship to embodied spaces, and restore the seriousness of choosing another human being intentionally. Because love does not die only when people stop believing in it. Sometimes love dies when people start shopping for it. The strongest counter to the argument that I've presented so far is not that dating apps are perfect, because they are simply not. The strongest opposition argument is that dating apps did not destroy modern love. Modern loneliness was already there because there was economic pressure, there was urban isolation, there was migration, delayed marriage, social anxiety, religious fragmentation, capitalism, and the collapse of communities where people became increasingly isolated. Dating apps did not create the wound. They appeared because the wound was already open, so they magnified it and made it more painful. From this perspective, the app is not the disease but the symptom. Many people work long hours, live away from family, move across cities and countries and continents, attend churches or mosques where eligible partners are limited, or belong to communities where meeting people or meeting someone organically is difficult. For such people, dating apps can widen possibilities. Proverbs chapter 18:22 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing,